I want to talk a little bit about transferring weights here and the potential issues we might encounter. So I have this lich character lower body, and then I have the mage character lower body, and they're slightly different. They're very similar, but there's slight differences. So let's see what happens when we transfer weights. So first, to transfer weights, I need to skin my new geometry to all the joints in the skeleton. So in that case, I have to make sure that the joint character is selected here, closest distance, at least 6 influences, and all of those have to be unchecked, otherwise the weights won't transfer. Apply. Now I can select my source geo and target geo and go skin, copy skin weights. And so that's been copied. Now, in order to see if it works, I need to load some animation on it, and then I can understand if it works or not. So because this is an FBX and it has a skeleton, I can load any FBX animation on it. So I'm going to save this file first, ArcMage Lex. I'm going to load some animation here. Import. And I have a few animations exported there. I think it would be good to see on a walk cycle. So you can try to load the walk cycle and see what happens. And we can see that actually there is exactly as I predicted. There is this kind of thing where those legs were overlapping, and now they have this issue that they got glued together to some degree. So I know that this animation is like 40 frames long, so we can kind of see here. And oftentimes to see the skinning, it's best to see it on the actual animation. There's for some reason like a little pop here. I think like I need to end it on 39. Yeah. So the easiest way to fix this is use something that's called a weight hammer. And the weight hammer is basically the kind of tool that whenever something sticks out, you hammer it back in. That's the best way I can explain it. So if I just go skin, hammer, skin weights, it will push them in based on your selection. But you have to make sure that your selection is correct. So there is actually a few things we can do here. First of all, I feel like this is not a good pose. Like a good pose would be, and I want to disable my auto key because I don't want to alter the animation here. Like bring them out like this maybe, so I can see how they are glued together. And I can see they're glued together quite a bit and they're overlapping. So what I can do here is I need to make sure that I select the right point. So first of all, this point is an easy win. I have a feeling if I select this point and if I just hammer it, it's going to be fixed. Now that one also looks like it's a little bit off, out of position, so I can hammer that one, and I can kind of hammer a lot of them all at the same time. But be careful, because at some point you're going to start having some clipping issues. And if we go in here to this character, you can see that there's some vertices that are kind of sharing position. So if I press G, it will remember the last command, thus it will execute the weight hammer. You might want to select all of the points that come from the other leg, and then press G, and it looks like it's been just hammered back in, but you can see how there's overlap going on now. So that leg's fixed, but that leg is not. So what I would do, I would select vertices on this leg, and then Shift dot to grow your selection. Maybe Shift dot one more time, and then Control drag to deselect all those points that are not being affected. But you gotta be in component mode, so you press F8 or press this button, and then Control drag, deselect the points that are not out of position, And now we have exactly the selection we need. So once we press G, it's going to hammer them back in. Very, very nice. So that's starting to look a little bit better. Now, this is pretty good. And I don't think we will see those issues too much because, well, maybe you could hammer a little bit. But hammer is sometimes like too intense. So if you just grab those points here and you hammer them, it might do too much almost. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's hard to know with the hammer. So it might be a good use case for our smoothing tool. This is a perfect use case for a smoothing tool that I just released to my patrons. So the smoothing tool, to install it, this is like what you have to copy somewhere. So I'm just gonna grab my smoothing tool here and paste it in to that folder. So in this case, what I would do, I'll basically give you this folder, you extract it, you take that or the whole thing if you want, and you paste it to the folder of choice. And then, you just have to make sure that this points exactly to that smoothing tool folder. So mine is in cwork Python smoothing tool. So in that case, what I can do is just run it because I know that it's there. And basically, it's looking for this file. So if this file is in that folder, it's going to work. Ignore this. This is some other stuff that you don't need. Anyway, if you just run this, it should open the smoothing tool. And the smoothing tool looks like this. It has kind of like a weight hammer, but a little bit better. And you have the brush strength regulation. You can just click the smooth brush, and then now it allows you to paint. And if you hold B and make it bigger, make sure to not enter the values there. You can now start smoothing. Now, if you reduce the brush intensity, it will smooth very gently. And I think that's what you need in this case to smooth this area. So as you can see, the smoothing tool is your friend. I'm going to increase that. You can play with the settings, but the best setting is if you go and do like 6 or 8 influences and then start smoothing this area like that. Okay, so maybe smooth here a little bit, right? So that's starting to look great. Now another thing about smoothing tool, it has this thing that you might not want to use. You can select a whole bunch of points on your mesh and just relax them. So that will smooth the whole area, but I don't want to do that in this case. Another thing that's nice about it is if you for some reason want to make sure the same area has the same weights, like that whole belt, you can just unify those weights and now this whole belt will have the same weights. It obviously doesn't work in this case because of the underlying meshes, but you want this whole thing to have the same weight, boom. And you already has, it sounds like, but basically it kind of does it. So it's good for armor pieces. And I might improve this tool in the future, but for now it's very useful and it's nice. And if you like it, what you can do is you can make a button. So you grab this command, middle drag it on your shelf, and in there you can just say, so how am I doing this? I dragged it with middle drag on my custom shelf, right click edit, and go to shelves, and in there you can just say icon label smooth. So this is not really fitting here. Smooth. I can change the color. You can add a tooltip, launch smoothing tool, and you're good to go. And save all shelves. And then if you restart your Maya, you're going to have this button on your custom shelf, which starts your smoothing tool. All right. Okay, but get back to this. It sounds like we fixed the problem. The skinning is looking great. And so the walk cycle is working really well now. And we can see that this is good enough for what this game needs. As you can see, there might be some smoothing that might be done here in those areas. I can if I want to, but I gotta be careful because this game is kind of a low resolution game, so I don't really need to go crazy. And if I smooth too much, I might get some clipping here and there. So yeah, um, always play with that. Reduce the amount of uh, your brush intensity potentially. Okay. All right, guys. So I hope that was useful. I'll see you in the next one.